Hey everybody, Gabe Suarez here, still on the road to southern Arizona, and some interesting times. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about was this gunfight that took place in the Taqueria, which is incidentally the way you say it, not Taqueria. All right, come on, guys. And Taqueria, it means a taco shop. All right, Taco Bell is a taqueria. Well, let's not get carried away. Anyway, so we all saw the video. I'm going to do a little discussion on my take on it, and then I'm going to do a follow-up video with references to the video itself and all that sort of thing on my Patreon page. But I want to outline the concepts here. I want to title this, I don't know. I'm going to title another video that I do called Justifying the Ninth Shot. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I'll discuss that briefly here, but more of that material needs to be behind the paywall because I don't want that information to fall into the wrong hands. Anyway, so make a long story short. There is a typical thug. I don't think he was very prepared. Just your typical, armed robber type. I remember dealing with guys like that back in LA, almost on a weekly basis. All right. They were violent and they were stupid. And usually every encounter with them ended up in a fatality, usually theirs. And this is no different. So the backstory is there's this taco shop in Houston, and people are in there enjoying the chimichangas and whatever else they're serving there. And this young urban thug comes in, starts waving a gun around and collecting people's money. And you can see as soon as this guy tips his hand, there's a gentleman in gray, and he alerts. And eventually, when the bad guy turns his back on him, the gentleman gets up and takes care of business and smokes the bad guy. Okay, now, some points. Number one, I have always said that it is about timing, not about speed. Okay, case in point. The gentleman, as soon as the bad guy tipped his hand, the gentleman didn't pop up into a perfect Isaso Weaver, at the beep and draw his pistol and, engage in a contest of speed. All right, your draw from the holster, your first shot out of the holster, whatever the time is not going to be faster than someone who has the pistol already in their hands. Okay, the bad guy already had a pistol in his hand. So, as I've always said, it's not about time, it's about timing, and this gentleman understood it. For some reason, and I don't know his background, but I suspect this was not his first rodeo. It'll be interesting to hear what his background and actual and implied might be once this story develops further. So, not about time or speed, it's about timing, and this gentleman showed it perfectly. Okay. Number two, surreptitious draw. I've always talked about this, my God, for the last 20 years, because we used to do it all the time back in Los Angeles. There is a way to access your pistol in a covert manner, have it in your hand before you decide to start the party, and this guy also understood that. Again, Americans seem so fixated on speed draws and this and that. Guys, think of the gunfight. It's not about the score, it's about the killing. This gentleman understood that. Surreptitious draw, point number two. Excellent, done. All right. Now, bad guy turns his back, he stands up, and he starts shooting at this guy. There are numbskulls and propeller heads on the internet that are now breaking out into monkey bites because this guy shot a bad guy in the back. Good heavens. Look, guys, are you justified sometimes in shooting a bad guy in the back? Absolutely you are. What was that one movie where the hero is accused of shooting the bad guy in the back, and his response is, his back was to me. Okay? I remember back in my days in Southern California law enforcement, there are a couple of guys I shot in the back because That's what was tactically required, and it was perfectly justified given the circumstances. All right? So nothing wrong with shooting the bad guy in the back. Okay? Now, he shoots a bunch of rounds. He shot the bad guy to the ground. Again, good points on that, and why I suspect this gentleman has some experience in this area. Time will tell. We'll find out. There's another guy on the internet, which I think should know better, because their ethos is replete with the word warrior in everything they say, and he's talking about the morality of this. If the bad guy wasn't a threat and he was trying to leave and all this sort of thing. Look, you know what? Listen, I shot plenty of guys in my time. I never felt bad about any of them. There are plenty of bad guys out there, and if they give you the opening to shoot them, okay, there's nothing wrong with taking that opening, because if the shoe was reversed, if the shoe was on the other foot, they would certainly shoot you. So, look, if you have moral compunctions about shooting bad guys, maybe carrying a gun is not for you. Okay? Do yourself a favor and either get your mind right or leave it in the safe. Okay? Now, let's talk about the ninth shot. Okay? The ninth shot. It's basically the last shot that the gentleman fires into the armed robber. And on the face of it, it looks like what we would see in a drill that we teach called the Istanbul drill. Now, the Istanbul drill, you'll remember at Ataturk Airport some years ago, there was some theological extremists. And they went in there, they killed a bunch of people, and one policeman shot one guy, one of the terrorists. The terrorist was down, policeman approached him, and the terrorist was reaching in his jacket to detonate a bomb, and you see the policeman running off just as the explosion kicks off, and very dramatic and everything else. Now look, since then we have been teaching in active shooter situations and in terrorist situations that once the bad guy has been shot and he's on the ground, that you put a few more rounds into his face to ensure that he is no longer in the fight. Why is that important? Because you don't want him to blow the place up once you've won the gunfight, do you? Okay? People don't die automatically when they're shot. So, in those two circumstances, active shooter event and terrorist event, absolutely, you fire those anchoring shots and you put them down for good. Now the question comes up, was it appropriate in this particular situation? Was this an active shooter event? No, it wasn't. Was it a terrorist event? No, by all indications, even for someone on the scene, it's clear that this was an armed robbery. All right? All those things being in place and no other extenuating circumstances, I would not advocate that ninth shot, the anchoring shot on that particular bad guy in that particular event. All right? But, so let's discuss what extenuating circumstances could there be? Well, I am not suggesting that these will justify or illegitimize the taking of that shot, but let's go through them. All right? Number one, it was an AD. So if the gentleman would say something along the lines of, well, I was pointed in on him, my finger was on the trigger, and I was so excited and so stressed out that, I kind of fired that last shot, it was an accident. Okay. No big deal. Sorry. Were all the other shots justified? Yes. Now, I believe, based on my prior training and real-world experience, that it's going to come down to whether that shot killed the bad guy or the bad guy was already dead from the prior shots. You can't get in trouble for shooting a dead guy. At least not any place that I know of. So that's one extenuating circumstance. Second one would be if, as he approached the bad guy, he saw the bad guy still moving and still reaching for his pistol and still attempting to turn and bring his weapon to bear. If the gentleman can articulate that, that clearly justifies the 9th shot. It would be something along the lines of, as I approached the armed robber, I saw that his hand was on the pistol, and he lifted up his wrist, and he was turning his upper body toward me to bring the weapon to bear. And I knew that if he did, he was going to get a shot off, and I was afraid that if he got a shot off, he would kill me. Therefore, I had no other option but to fire one more round and make sure that he couldn't complete his planned activity. Now, I don't know if that's actually what happened or not, but I believe that that would also be a mitigating circumstance. Now, if he approached the bad guy, here's a third one. If he approached the bad guy and he noted, perhaps not before, but he noticed now, that the bad guy was wearing either ballistic armor or what appeared to be a bomb vest. You know, would an armed robber wear a bomb vest? I don't know. Maybe. Would he wear armor? I know a lot of bad guys that have worn armor. In fact, in 2 of my gunfights, back in the Jurassic era, bad guys were wearing body armor. So why would they do it today? So that would mean that all his prior shots into the bad guy's torso had no effect, and the bad guy was still in the fight. And adding to the previous point that he was attempting to get back into the fight, that would, I believe, justify that 9th shot. Okay, so those 3 points basically. Just walking up and giving him the coup de grace in this situation, I wouldn't advise it. In an active shooter, counter-terrorist type situation, absolutely. At least 2 of them, preferably 3. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to keep track on this and see if there's any new developments. And I will be doing a more lengthy dissertation on video for my Patreon page probably in the next week or so. I've got a bunch of other projects too. We're just putting together a Benelli M2, so I'm going to do some footage on that particular blaster as well. Benellis are awesome. And anyway, I don't want to make this too long. But anyway, that's it. And keep an eye on Patreon for new videos on these topics. And I got to get on the road here, guys. Peace out.